I forgot to unmute myself. Okay, so I just fell down a rabbit hole and wanted to talk about it because it's interesting. There's a lot of things we don't really know about yet, so I don't really know that much about I don't know that much about it. It's just something that which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because it needs to be researched more, I feel. But that's also a problem because it's yes, it is illegal where I'm at. I live in the States and I'm like 90% sure it is illegal here. So, which is why people can't do research on it, because it is something that could possibly be used as an antidepressant, but people can't research it, so it's not really out there as something that can be researched. So, but I do want to talk about what things it does, because it's really interesting. I think it's just there's a lot that it does that we don't like. I know that it has a chemical in it that I think it boosts serotonin or something, and also if anybody has any if anybody has done a lot of research and I say something that is not true, feel free to correct me, because I literally just fell down a rabbit hole, so I haven't done a ton of research or whatever, but so I know the first thing it does is that there's a chemical in it that triggers serotonin, and there's also one of my questions is that can it possibly create a serotonin imbalance, like a serotonin syndrome kind of thing, because I know that when you have too much serotonin it can create extreme problems, negative things to happen. So, but when I look it up, there's not really much there. So, I don't really know if that is something that could happen. And I also just think it's so weird what it can do. Just I know that a lot of other drugs can, obviously do insane things, but it also seems like it's definitely not as addictive as a lot of other drugs, which also makes me a little bit confused on why that is, compared to things like nicotine and stuff like that, because they're both chemicals that boost serotonin, so why is one more addictive than the other? So, and then also just I don't know, I'm just yapping on about this, but if anybody, I don't know if the chat is working, because sometimes when it sees my face it decides, oh, you're too young, but I'm over 13, and it doesn't believe me, so the chat might not work. So yeah, I know it's been researched before. Well, that's true. That is true. One is man-made, and the one that is man-made is nicotine. Is I think it is made from things in nature, but it is definitely like a lot of things that are put into it to make it more addictive, to make profit from it, which is probably, which also makes me a little bit confused of why one is legal and one is not, because it seems like nicotine is way more dangerous, and obviously we don't know that much about shrooms, so it's very like it could do something terrible, we just don't know it yet because it's not been researched. So which is still makes me a little bit confused on why nicotine is legal in the States, because it shouldn't be, in my opinion. I don't think, because like the amount of damage it does is really crazy when you actually like do research on it. But we don't really know that much about shrooms. It says I did see something that said that like around 70% of people who were like tested, like people that have tested it, have like they had like positive hallucinations, and it was like a weird like kind of like childlike dream experience, very like vibrant colors, very like kind of like just like a weird core fantasy kind of dream like childhood thing. And then the other like 20-30ish% said that they had extremely negative hallucinations, like kind of like sleep paralysis kind of stuff. So if the majority says that it was positive, I feel like it should definitely be more researched upon. And with nicotine, I'm not really sure because I haven't, done research on nicotine before. But also, the outcome of each doesn't really, like, the more thing that matters with it being legal is the amount of damage it does. And I think that the amount of damage is definitely something that should be considered, because when you look at nicotine and like smoking and stuff like that, it does extreme damage. But with shrooms, we haven't seen nearly as much damage. So it's definitely confusing why one is legal and one is not. I don't really have much else. I just wanted to come on here and yap. So that might be the end of the live, which I know is a very short live, but yeah. So goodbye.